We will call this meeting of the Freeman School Board to order. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. Next item on the agenda is roll call.
Clay?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
Cody?
Yep.
Doug?
Yes.
Will?
Kylie will be here later. Okay, next I will require a motion to approve the agenda. I believe that there are a couple of amendments, or at least one.
One amendment 13 was something that was shifted to our Tuesday special meeting, so that is no needed, that would be a scratch.
Any other amendments? All right, so with that amendment, I will need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Cody, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Doug. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, conflict of interest disclosures. I have not received any. All right. Next item on the agenda, public input. No. All right. Next item on the agenda, consent agenda. We'll require a motion to approve the following. The minutes of the regularly scheduled school board meeting of January 10th, 2022, the minutes of the Corval Cooperative Board of Advisors meeting on January 19th, 2022, except the resignation of guidance counselor Lucy Whipcop at the completion of the 2021-2022 school year contract, and we thank her for her service. The hiring of Avery Sage for the position of the assistant track coach, the hiring of Jenny Peters at 75% for the position of assistant track coach, financial reports and claims for February. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Slade, do I have a second?
So moved.
Second by Cody, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and the motion carries. Next item on the agenda, administrative reports.
I passed out the elementary report, it should be in front of you. I don't know if you saw in the paper, I think about a week ago, Melissa Decker had entered Wolf Creek grades 4 through 8 into a competition called Reading Theory Competition. It was nationwide and throughout, so it was nationwide, and they received first place out of 1,229 schools. Melissa told me those kids wanted to win so bad they were coming in on Saturday and they were having Saturday school, so kudos to them. I'm going to be treating them with a pizza party here in the near future. Parent-teacher conferences are scheduled for Wednesday and Thursday. I believe we dismiss at 1:30. Conferences run 2 to 6. Stuart Curry from the Salem Mennonite Church had started a good news club, and he's been using our library. They've run the last 2 weeks. I think they started with 26 kids, and I think they're up to 37, and I think every day we dismiss and the kids see other kids going there having fun, it's probably going to keep getting larger. He's already talking about needing two rooms instead of one. Smarter Balance testing windows opens up on March 8th and run through to the 7th. That is grades 3 through 8 and grade 11 that take the Smarter Balance. Why did I put that twice with different dates? Access testing has been going on this month, and that's for our 74 EL students. Access testing is the South Dakota English Language Proficient Assessment Test. We call it short for Access. There are 18 kids in town that are in the process of getting tested. Wolf Creek had 19 kids that were getting tested, and Cheddar has 37 kids that are getting tested. Once you meet the proficiency, then you're done taking that test. You don't have to take it. And unfortunately, once they meet the proficiency, then we lose funding for them too. So it's kind of a catch-22. You do a good job out there in the county, then you lose funding. So Child Find and our kindergarten roundup is scheduled for a half day on March 23rd, and then a full day on the 24th. And then our elementary spring concert is on March 15th. Any questions on my report?
All right. Next on the agenda, administrative report, high school principal.
A few successes for us. Our 1-act students are in 6th place. Kate Miller and Thor Onenson both received superior performance ribbons. That was good for them, first time out there. Our high school students did a great job of representing us at the Region 1 vocal ensemble as well. Second quarter honor roll was published in the Courier. our construction trades class toured the lumberyard, and then they're gonna team up with them too, and they're going to send them some projects their way, so some projects that they would like to get done, which is great for us because they are going to purchase the materials and then allow the students to build the project, so it's a win-win for us, so that's good. Our 7th and 8th graders have started oral and terp. They will attend the Corn Belt Conference contest on March 3rd. 8th graders did a great job down in Wagner at the career fair too. They were super respectful and had positive behavior, so that was good. Our juniors delivered those balloons and flowers today, so that brought some smiles to some kids' faces, so we appreciated that. Senior posters are finally in the gym, and so hopefully you've seen those. And then we did get our diplomas for the seniors ordered. Caps and gowns are in. That is approaching quickly as well. Challenge is always finding subs. There's a lot of people in here, so if anybody in here wants to sub, we'll take your app. And those of you that are, we appreciate you, especially those that are helping in-house as well. Another challenge that we're facing, vaping is a bit of a challenge for students nationwide. That includes students here in Freeman, and so we are working to see what kind of education and awareness we can bring to our students and to our parents to kind of help us maybe understand that a bit more. So we're looking into that. And then I'll be teaming up with student council this week as well to figure out what they can do to help us move forward with that too. We're working on composites for the hall with Selena from Digital Solutions. It's been a little bit tricky on, emailing back and forth. She emails us a proof, we look at it, okay, this is what we wanna change, and then it takes about a day or two to get that change in. So once we get the first one done, I'm confident the next two will be easy. We just have to get what we want it to look like first, and so that's just been a bit of a challenge. But we're working on it, we're getting it done. And then those are just some dates there at the bottom for you that are coming up, so I won't go through each one of those dates, but happy Valentine's Day to you guys.
Great. All right, next item on the agenda, Superintendent Administrative Report.
Yeah, included in your packet, I have my superintendent updates. That's the one that's got the 3 highlighted columns on it. Last week, Debbie, Larry, Greg, and I sat down and we talked about equipment and capital improvement ideas and plans and needs. So I've highlighted some of those, and then I've highlighted what our potential, a lot of the potential, whether we can get them all these projects done will be depending on what the quotes come back at. So I say potential for the targeted completion date. So looking at the equipment needs, we got a burnisher, and then an upright vacuum that we were looking at that we'll be using our ESSER 3 funds for next time around. We're looking at a John Deere push mower. That's one that we currently have. My understanding is that it's reaching its life expectancy, so it would be good for us. The wheels apparently are about at that point where they're falling off, so looking at updating that as well. So that would be something that would be the only item there that would not be used for out of ESSER 3 budget. Elementary needs, things that we discussed at our meeting, would be painting parking lots, and that goes for the high school as well, but the lines are faded. Something I'd be very interested in is talking to the city and seeing what the city is using for painting lines, if there could be a partnership that could be developed there, or if that's subcontracted out by the city, if we can get some ideas on who we would contact for getting our lines painted on our parking lot. So maybe we can touch base later, Cody. Island replacement, I know this is something that's come up quite a bit. That would be the islands in the elementary parking lot. Discussion has been, our custodial staff from their perspective feel that all the islands would need to be replaced. It'd be the middle 2 islands that would significantly help on snow removal, not having to go around those islands. So that's something that we'll get quotes on. I have possible summer repair. That'll be all just be depending on what the cost would be to have those removed. But for painting lines, it seems like that would be a logical time for us to, again, look into that project and see if that's manageable with our budget this summer, and then get that done before we do the line painting. Playground sidewalk has got a few patches, a few slabs that are cracking and are in need of repair, so we'll be getting a quote on those. Sprinkler heads, we'll wait till they come and do their spring inspection, and I'll ask them for a quote to see how many of those sprinkler heads are in need of repairs, and we'll see if we'll be able to tackle that. Automatic hand washing stations, this is a concern, primarily what I've noticed in the Growing Greens area. But I'm hearing that we have some other issues potentially around the building with the automatic sensors that the solenoid goes out on them. We apparently have some that are coming, that are on order, and once those get in, we'll be looking at repairing those. So that's a relatively smaller item. I think that was about $100. My memory is telling me that they cost for those solenoids. High school needs them. We talked about the painting of the parking lot lines. One that's not on here that failed to add to this list would be the curbs. This was something that came up with our new insurance company when they did their inspection. They said that we need to continue to work towards repairing those curbs. If a curb has some worn down edges or chipped edges, that's a potential trip hazard, so that's something we need to continue to work on. Concrete cracks, we have the first slab right off the heated section. Our custodial staff has painted that. That's right when you came in the building. You probably saw the paint on the edge of the sidewalk right as you came up the main walkway into the high school. So that's just over time, the heaving and the rising and settling during the cold seasons. That's something that eventually causes that concrete to crack and wear out and heave, and that'll be one area that's probably the worst area that we have on our grounds right now. Bus route cracks. This is something that I'm not sure. We talked about this when we were going through locating the geothermal field. It's very interesting. I know this has been a discussion in the past as well, but it's very interesting that where we located the geothermal field, every place that it crosses that bus lane, it's cracked. So what I would like to do this, when we're getting the quotes for the other concrete slabs that need to be replaced, I'd like to get a second opinion and find out if that's gonna improve the situation at all, or if it's just gonna end up doing the same thing. So it's something we'll have to revisit if it ends up being where we replace it and it just cracks right away. That's not gonna be a good use of our district dollars. Sewer line, so there's actually right in through this room, there's a sewer line that goes underneath the floor here. It's something that's been talked about for a number of years, getting that replaced. Right now what the custodial staff is doing is just dumping buckets of water through the toilets that are located in outside of the staff workroom. And that's something that works. It's a little bit more maintenance for them, a little bit more time out of their day. They said it's part of their routine right now, and we talked about tabling that until next year, and so custodial staff was okay with that. On the flip side of that sheet then, custodial shed is something that we have talked about. We are tabling that until next year for the reason of we have a new ag teacher coming in next year, and we're gonna have a little bit more heavy course load with the ag classes and not as much with the metals and the woods classes. And that's okay because a good chunk of our student population here in the high school has already taken those classes, so that'll give them an opportunity to have other classes to experience. So the reason for tabling that would be really the need that the timeline that would require that to be a need would be in that following year. So 2 years from now, when we'd be looking at introducing those classes back in, then it would be important to try to find a new home for some of that custodial equipment that's back there, so we can repurpose our shops back to what they were intended for, and that's for educational reasons. Old scoreboard concrete, this one's a simple one. We have when the old scoreboard is removed, there's still a couple pieces of metal that are still sticking out of the concrete, so we just need to contact somebody to come out and cut those pieces of metal off and fill those holes in over top of that concrete. The northeast exit has another slab. This is probably the second worst one that we have on our property right now, that is cracked. And interior walls, something that our custodial staff has identified is that there's just getting to be a lot of chips all around, and just showing what happens with paint and over time. So we'll be looking at getting a quote from an outside vendor to come in this summer and do some repainting. Hallway that we have around the high school, that's starting to show some wear and with some stains. So we're looking at getting a quote for cleaning of that. Dakota Floors is coming in to resurface our competition gym, our main gym, and they happen to do carpeting as well. So when they are here to resurface our gym floor that I'm gonna talk about a little bit more in a little bit here, they're gonna provide a quote, and then when they would come back this summer to do the auxiliary gym, they could do the floors while they're here. So that could work out well. Ceiling mic is in, so something that's been presented to me from individuals that have tried to tune into board meetings from home is that it's really difficult to hear some voices, particularly the individuals like myself with a deeper voice. This is very challenging to hear on the computer. So Seth has done some research and got some feedback on different types of mics, and one of the mics that was very favorable reviews was a ceiling mic that we can pop right into the ceiling up there and replace one of those tiles. That would be right over all of us, and one mic would be able to give us a better amplification for our board meetings. The competition gym floors. So as I mentioned earlier, we have resurfacing that's happening. Also in that main gym, there's paint that's chipping. So along the seams of our boards, the paint or the floor is flexing and it's causing the paint to chip. That company is Wyoming Floors. I came in and painted that 2 years ago. There's absolutely no reason why that gym should be looking the way it is when it was just painted 2 years ago. They've come in and they've identified that this is a problem on their end, and they're gonna make it right with us, and they're gonna come in over April 15th. They'll be the first ones to come in, and they're gonna repaint the areas that need to be repainted that are showing that wear. And then after they are done, Dakota Floors will be coming in to do the resurfacing. And Dakota Floors, the last time they resurfaced the gym floor, there was little patches where it was, in their term, was contaminated. And didn't allow the finish to get a proper drying. So they're gonna come in, and they identified that was an issue on their end, and they're also gonna come in and they're gonna make it right for us. So our competition gym, our main gym, will be repainted and resurfaced at no cost to the district. So that's very good news. Very pleased with those two companies for standing by their products and their work. Conference information for football. We have been accepted into the Great Plains Conference. That's very exciting for football. That moves on now to the South Dakota High School Athletic Association for approval, and once that happens, then it'll be official. Superintendents and head of school are scheduled to meet next week to discuss a plan moving forward for football as far as determining what that plan is going to be to identify colors and mascot, and we will also include our ADs in that discussion and that planning for that meeting. That's all I have.
Great. Any questions? All right, we'll move on to the next item, unfinished business. Any items for unfinished business? Don't have anything. All right, new business. First item is the school board will hold a discussion about school bus quotes that were received.
So we had 3 quotes originally, and then one was removed. Here are the 2 quotes that are the official quotes that were submitted. We used the Sourcewell bid, and with the Sourcewell bid, that the pre-bidding portion of it has already taken place by the companies that go through Sourcewell. So what that means for us is that we do not have to go out and have secured bids for this school bus, even though it's over the dollar amount that would require us to do so. We've already technically through Sourcewell, that bidding process has already happened. So we just need to reach out to a Sourcewell company and gather quotes. And on those 2 quotes that were submitted, we received a quote from North Central and Harlow's. In your packets, I have included the school bus specifications. There were 60 items that were identified on these specifications that were submitted to each of the companies. And then the companies came back and gave us a quote based off of meeting the requirements that we were asking for with those bus specifications. With those 2 quotes, North Central, that would be the company that manufactures Bluebird, their quote came in at $101,712.83. And Harlow's, the bus that they manufacture, would be IC International, and their quote came back at $96,447.22. Cody's been part of the process here, so I'll turn it over to him to discuss further.
To me, I think it's pretty well no-brainer, just looking at the price, and I guess I would go with the international, so it'd be my recommendation. There's a international dealer down in Yankton that can do any of our warranty work that needs to be done on the bus, so it's at least close. Also parts available in Sioux Falls if need be, so. That's my recommendation.
Any further discussion about bus quotes? All right, next item on the agenda will require a motion to approve the Harlow's IHC quote for the purchase of a new school bus as was recommended by Cody. Do we have a motion?
So moved, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Motion by Cody,
Second.
second by Slade. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next on the agenda, the school board will hear a capital outlay funds report from the business manager.
I have gave you all a folder for it. Just first gonna explain how the capital outlay is figured out. So, a few years ago, they went to a process where we get $3,441 per student for capital outlay plus our debt, our capital outlay debt. So I got an email from the state today, and I think they're gonna up it to $3,544. And it explains it here, it's either the growth or a 3% limitation. And then I included on the next page is the school valuation worksheets I get from the state for 22, 21, 20, and 19. And our valuations are actually going down. Ag rent is going down, and has been for a few years already. So we don't have growth. So then they cap it at 3% plus our debt. And then the next sheet is kind of figured out, I put in what our fall enrollment for 2021 was, the 382.1. And then our debt is $379,384 for the year. So then we'll get approximately $1,733,000. But like 300, almost 380 of that is for our debt.
Right.
And then I included a capital outlay ending balance every year. And, you know, like 2020, we didn't use hardly ever capital outlay because of COVID. So we had a little extra then. And then the next thing is our budget for ESSER 2 and 3. So we in ESSER 2, we included Katie's salary and also our math teacher's salary. And now I'm going to put it into ESSER 3 for the next 2 years, which if you look at the first one is ESSER 2, we've used that off. And then we have ESSER 3, the learning loss. We have the math interventionist in that one. So I'm gonna also include the interventionist the next 2 years into ESSER 3, the learning loss portion. There's 20% of the ESSER 3 is set aside for learning loss, and the rest is general. And that's where I wanna put Katie and Austin and the math teacher in that, which will just about use it all up then. I think that's a good use of it. You have any questions?
I don't really have any questions. Anyone else? Here. Great, thanks so much, Debbie. All right, next item on the agenda, the school board will hear a facilities and grounds committee report.
I don't have a lot to report this time. Spoke to Catherine DeKinga, architect from JLG today, about the wrestling multi-purpose room expansion. For the contract amendment we signed when we changed the design a little bit and went back out for rebid. They are required to have full set of drawing specifications completed by the 21st, which would be Monday. They are on track for that, so we'll be advertising the next 2 weeks in the Courier, and we're looking at a March 10 bid date.
Thanks, Doug. All right, next item on the agenda, school board will have a presentation from the Growing Dreams families and staff.
Happy Valentine's Day. Thank you for your time this evening. And we are here presenting on behalf of Growing Dreams Learning Center. And the purpose of our presentation will be to give a brief background and history of Growing Dreams, tell you about the other spaces that we have explored for GDLC occupancy, talk about some of the benefits from different perspectives from operating out of the Freeman Elementary School, and a request from GDLC. So first, a brief history. We began in 1976 as a preschool laboratory for Freeman Junior College. We were named the Kinder Corner and occupied the house up on the top picture there. 1980, there was a need for daycare in the Freeman area, which still exists today. But 1980, the daycare program was added to the already existing Kinder Corner. Freeman Junior College closed, but the daycare and preschool still continued. In 1992, Freeman Academy moved in other directions with their programs and sold Kinder Corner to Jeanette Reichen, who renamed it Growing Dreams. 1993 is when Growing Dreams moved to the St. Paul Lutheran School, which is that middle picture there. And in 2004, we moved to from the St. Paul Lutheran School to the Bethany Mennonite Church, where we resided for about 15 years, until about 2019, when we were heavily pursued by the Freeman Public School to move our location from the Bethany Church to the east wing of the Freeman Elementary School, where we are currently operating. So, other options we've explored for Growing Dreams Learning Center operations. The Bethany Mennonite Church, our former location, is willing to have us back, which is great. Although, what does this mean for us as a nonprofit business? We would be seeing a large rent increase. There would be a downsize of space, storage, and some amazing resources that we're getting here at the school. And there could be a possible pause in care for families and a pause in employment for staff while we wait for approval of a floor plan, for a building inspection to be complete, see what compliance issues we might have, and expensive updates for security and fixing those compliance issues to operate in the best way possible for our families. Next, we have some benefits from operating out of the Freeman Public School from a parent perspective. And these are just a few. The list is very long, but a few highlights would be the variety of hot lunches that the school has available for the families to purchase. It's just a walk down the hallway, really easy. They're hot, ready for the kids. The children in our care are familiar with the building as they prepare to enter the next level of education, which would be the kindergarten class. We're a one-stop drop for families with children in both daycare and school. We offer before and after school care, which is available without bus transportation. It can be a little intimidating, little kindergartner to send them on a bus. There's the security of cameras in the hallways and the intercom system to enter the building, which we're able to see who is at the intercom before we let them in, we have that open door policy. Parents can come anytime, but if it's somebody we don't know, having the security of that is great. And the classrooms that we operate in provide that classroom atmosphere to promote learning for children of all ages from birth and up. Looking at the nonprofit business perspective for Growing Dreams operating out of the school, it is a more attractive facility for potential employees. And you've probably heard of the daycare crisis all around the nation, and we're part of that. We're incredibly short-staffed, and having this attractive facility is great for attracting potential employees. We're also more attractive for families, especially families with children in both grade school and daycare. We have amazing resources, which I have listed before, or mentioned before. We have access to the internet, laptops that were generously given to us for use. There's snow removal, the gym and playground access, and the storage space is amazing in the classrooms. There is large financial savings for us as a nonprofit operating out of the school. We have the security of cameras in the hallways and intercom, the classroom atmosphere, and it's a very convenient location and a great job opportunity for high school students, which we do have a handful of high school students who come on down at the end of the day and help us, close up the end of the day. Some of the benefits from your perspective as the Freeman Public School. There's a preschool program here in your building. I know that you have the preschool program on the other side of the elementary school, but that's one that you have to qualify for. So being able to offer another preschool program right here in the building is a great option. The before and after school care can accommodate more families. We're just a walk around the corner. Students established here are more likely to continue their education at Freeman Public. We're very appealing for families looking to move to the area with the daycare and school all together in one location. It's a convenient location and great job opportunity for high school students, which I listed before. And looking into the future, it could be a potential collaboration with Freeman High School for a hands-on elective in child development education. And last is our request. We request occupancy in the Freeman Public Elementary School for one more contracted year, which would be August 1st, 2022 to July 31st, 2023. And during that time, we will focus on collaborating with another facility for occupancy. We understand you need your classrooms. You guys are growing, we're growing, and being able to take that time to work with, whether it be Bethany Mennonite Church or somewhere else, we have adequate time to submit floor plans, to have them approved, to renovate to meet compliance, and ensure stability of childcare for the families that are currently in our care and future families that would like to be in our care. This would be a long-term benefit to the Freeman community by allowing Growing Dreams to remain in operation while also preparing the new space without worry of supply delays due to COVID, contracting for the work to be completed, and would help us to avoid closure due to possible delays in floor plan reviews and approvals. And I just want to thank you so much for your time and your consideration looking at the long-term solution for the growing numbers of the Freeman community. We also have some parents here tonight that wish to share a few thoughts on the matter as well. Thanks.
Guess I'll go first.
Good evening, I'm Kathy Herlin. I work at the hospital as the administrative assistant, and thank you for letting us come and speak tonight. As most of you know, I have a 2-year-old who attends Growing Dreams, and I also have a 14-year-old. This facility, being on the east wing, has been fabulous. I had toured Growing Dreams when I was expecting, and that was at the Bethany Church, and it was appealing to an extent, but the hallway layout and crossing the bathrooms weren't ideal, and it worked, it fit our needs, because for me to work, I have to have daycare. And being in a healthcare setting, we all need healthcare professionals. And we actually have 5 healthcare staff. 3 of them are nurses. Those families also go to Growing Dreams. So when Growing Dreams came to the school, it was just like a dream come true. I went home singing to my husband because this is a great atmosphere. It's inviting, it's convenient. My son's going to start potty training. It makes it a lot easier to go just there than all the way around the corner. So from that goes on to, as Michaela started to say, the setup is perfect. There's an outside play area. You already have the fenced-in play, safety, secured area, and I love the fact that these doors are locked. We don't have that feature at the church, And it's not to say it can't be done, but there's obviously a more complicated setup to consider. Last week, my daughter came home, and she was talking about school shootings. Something I never ever thought that she would come home and ask me about. And she said, "Mom, do you think that could happen in Freeman?" I said, "Honey, it can happen anywhere, but you have a facility that's locked and secured." And her response to me was, "Well, I hope that only happens on my side and not on Tyler's side." For a 14-year-old to be concerned about her 2-year-old brother's safety speaks volumes. So this is very passionate to me, as well as the whole facility of Growing Dreams. But I really want to protect our kids' safety here. It's a great facility. I love coming to pick my kid up and seeing all these high school youth excited and wanting to be around these kids. And these kids look up to these high schoolers. My son just loves being around those big kids. So I asked for your consideration to at least think about another year, to give us some time to get a new space established, and let my kid actually get used to a new space, because it's very intimidating for these little kids. So, thank you.
Anyone else?
I'll say a few words.
Eric Newhart, thanks for letting me speak. I'm here as a parent as well. Yeah, it works good. I mean, first year, everybody was excited, you were excited, new stuff. When you came, you said it yourself. There's a daycare in the facility, it's a good school system. But at the end of the day, I get it. I probably have a daughter in the class that's gonna get split. Education comes first. But that's a different matter. But, I mean, Michaela and the workers, 2 years in a row, or, for COVID, it's tough. They've been through a lot. Put this presentation together, that's not her strong suit, but she did great. Come and talk to you guys, that's not easy either, I mean, they did their work. I mean, one more year, is that too much to ask? Maybe you would say yes. I mean, I don't like, after the meetings, you close off the public comment, and then one of you have something to say completely opposite. If you have something to say, it'd be nice to say it in front of us so we could talk about it. I mean, look at who's all here. It means a lot to them. That's all I'm asking, I think that we're working hard at it, and thanks, and it worked out good. The rooms are nice, there's sinks in them, got our own wing, like everybody said, drop them off, one-stop drop, lunches. It's a pain. I mean, you go to the church, you guys used to bring the lunches down, you don't anymore, I get it. One of the daycare workers have to leave the daycare. That puts things at risk. They do a good job of making sure their numbers are right, because they can't leave unless they got so many numbers. I mean, you might think a whole year is a long time, but the regulations are crazy. I mean, and especially like they say with COVID, you get short getting something. I mean, I get it if you want us out, but I think one more year, I mean, you can't say they're sitting here saying, we're not leaving. So they're working on it as a board, and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, as a taxpayer, just make sure you don't get ahead of yourself with hiring, and the money is there. We're on a nice incline with enrollment. Don't get ahead of yourself and end up being short. That's all I'm gonna say. I think splitting them is a good idea, but I think for all these people here, you owe it to them to work with us, we'll work with you. And thanks for letting us be in your building for 3 years. It worked good and stuff, so thanks.
Sure.
I'm not gonna speak for the whole board, maybe I am, but it's not that we want you guys out. It's just that we don't know if we can keep you guys in. We're gonna do our best, but with the number increases we've had, especially last year, then if you look at the last 3 years, I would have never dreamed that we were gonna grow that much that quick. So this isn't a matter of, oh, we just wanna kick you guys out. We're gonna make it work if we can. We'll do our best. So we hear you guys loud and clear. If there's a road to get us to that point where we can have everybody be happy, we'll do our best to do that. I don't know if we can, I'm not gonna make any promises, but we'll definitely try.
Thank you.
Yep.
Absolutely. Anyone else? Growing Dreams, Kyle?
I'm Melissa Kleinsaucer. I have a 2-year-old in daycare as well. And my 5-year-old Bonnie is in kindergarten this year, the giant 30-student class. I also substitute here fairly often. I guess one thing that bothers me is it seems like the proposal for the wrestling came up and you guys discussed it and working on bids and stuff. Why not add classrooms with the wrestling room? Like, I just feel like athletics is so high and the growing student numbers, it's like, I feel like that should be talked about too. I had something else I was gonna say, but I didn't write it down, I didn't plan on talking, but, yeah, it's been awesome, it's been so nice having my kids all in one building, and, Michaela and all the other workers do such a great job, and if they knew coming in that they were only gonna be here for 2 years, and then have to get moved out, I don't know that they would have moved in the first place. That's all I have.
No, I appreciate it. I mean, and, kind of like what Eric said though too, about adding extra classrooms. We already have open classrooms that are being used, or at least, not by our school. And so, again, we have to be fiscally responsible, especially with construction prices the way they are as well. But obviously, all 3 of my kids went to Growing Dreams. I could have never made it if Growing Dreams wouldn't have been there. And so obviously if we can make, we like to seem like we're heroes too. If we can make everybody happy, my gosh, that's always our #1 priority. So if there's not any additional comment, I think we can kind of segue into the next item for discussion, which is looking at how that would look like for the elementary structure for the following year and what our choices are with that. Any other comment before we go into the next item for agenda and talk about layout?
Yeah, I guess I'll say just publicly that I think Growing Dreams has a symbiotic relationship with the school. I think the reason that we've had numbers grow the way we have are partly because of that. Like you said, there's kind of that easy transition from preschool into the elementary school. And I think for a lot of people, that makes it easier to stay in the community, not have to move to Yankton or somewhere else where they do have available daycare.
Yeah.
Obviously it doesn't account for 100% of our student increase numbers, but even if it accounts for 5 or 10, I think that's worth it. So,
And the classes that you're looking to split would be from the last 2 years from when we've been occupying the building, which could be a coincidence, or I think there's probably a correlation. But
Right.
yeah. Oh.
it's just a ghost story, right? Yeah, no, completely agree, so,
Pyrotechnics over there.
right, yeah, I think we need to look at that too. If we wanna keep growing the way we are, why fix something that isn't broken?
Well, and I appreciate you pointing out that,
Yeah.
that point, thank you.
You bet.
I'd like to speak to a couple of comments that were made. First to the response about not getting ahead of ourselves and being fiscally responsible. As you heard Debbie lay out earlier, we get so much funding per student. So when we look at projects or things we do for the school, obviously the district isn't gaining any revenue per se from Growing Dreams. So when we look at students, we know we're gonna be in the building and the space we have to give up, that's what makes us have a difficult decision, because we're looking at, trying to look at the big budget picture. On the other side of things, I don't disagree that I think that it probably boosts some enrollment to the school district, and that's something that we'll take into account, but Our job as a board is to make sure that we're doing the best for the students in the building, and unfortunately, when there's funding tied to it, we can't always make those choices that we wanna make because it comes down to a funding issue. And I guess from my perspective, if it comes down to us not being able to hire another full-time teacher to split the younger classes, then we'll probably move away from having growing groups in the building. If we can make it work, we'll obviously try our best to make it work.
All right. Let's go into the next item on the agenda, looking at the proposed elementary school options.
So in your packets, we have three options that I put together for the board to consider as we look at making this decision. So option one, this is in no particular order, this isn't ranked by, preference, this is just simply the options as they float out onto the paper. So option one would be Growing Dreams staying in the building for one additional year. The following would be the classroom structure, so kindergarten would be in the current kindergarten classroom. We're looking at splitting first grade and second grade for next year. So first grade would be in the current first grade classroom. The second section of first grade would then be in the current second grade classroom. Second grade for the first section would be in the current third grade classroom. The second section of second grade would be in the current fourth grade classroom. And the third grade would then be in the classroom between the fourth and fifth grade. Wouldn't make any sense to move Mr. Mask out of his classroom, so we'd leave him in his current location, and the fourth grade would go into the classroom next to him. Sixth grade then is something that has been discussed as a need, that was highlighted when Shane had put together, or had gathered feedback from staff. So with sixth grade, being considered moving down to the elementary, sixth grade would then either go in one of two locations, either in the title classroom, and then if sixth grade were to go into the title classroom, then title would go across to the computer lab across the hallway from the title classroom. If we decided to go sixth grade, keep title where it's at, then that computer lab across from the title classroom would need to be all the tables removed and converted into a classroom with desks. So with that option, there's no additional classroom space that is available within that area of the building at all. There is zero classroom space left. We are at our max capacity, or we are utilizing every single classroom space that we have. No additional classroom space is available if we were in a position where, let's say we have 44 kids that come to the district, and let's just say that, so we can't control where those kids are gonna land, and, we've seen with our kindergarten, first and second grade, that those are our biggest classes, and if we were to happen to have, a group of kids, 5 kids come into any one level, then that could put us in a place where we're like, with our kindergarten this year. Bless Kylie's heart for what she's done with that class this year, and having 30 kids in there, that's pretty amazing. So and speaking to the timeline, we're actually behind a year. That we should have had that split happening this year, but it was just so late that we saw that influx of students that it was too late for us to find a teacher. If we're in that same situation where we have a class that grows by those margins, and we would be in a position where we would look at that we would have to split that section, and we would not have any space for them. We would also, this is the financial impact with this, we would need to purchase classroom lockers for 2 additional classrooms. So it would be with this setup, the second grade and third grade. I received quotes for what those classroom lockers look like, or what they would cost us, and they look exactly like the current ones that we have in the other classrooms. It makes sense that we would match those up. The quote came in at $28,369 per classroom. So with 2 classrooms, that would be a total cost to the district to put those lockers in of $56,738. Without those lockers, we don't have enough locker space for each of the students that will be in that area. So that'd be option 1. Option 2 then, also with Growing Dreams staying in the building for 1 additional year, the following would be the classroom structure. The kindergarten would be in one of the classrooms in Growing Dreams wing, which is something that is very possible. And I've talked to Michaela about this. The issue is that the kindergartners would not be able to use the bathrooms in Growing Dreams for just the daycare restrictions, the childcare restrictions and regulations, that they have to have those restrooms are for them only. So our kindergartners, similar to the point that was made by one of our parents, would have to walk all the way down the hall over to the other section to use the restrooms. First grade would then be in the current kindergarten classroom. Second section of first grade, the added on section, would be in the current first grade classroom. Second grade would then be in the current classroom, and then the additional section would be the third grade classroom. Moving over to the other half of the building, third grade would be in the current fourth grade classroom. Fourth grade be in between the fourth and fifth grade classroom and that open classroom. Fifth grade would then stay in its current location, and sixth grade would be in the room next to the fifth grade room. With this, there's no additional classroom space available within those classrooms for flexible learning spaces. Flexible learning spaces would be very commonly used, and this also comes into play for option 1 too, for if a paraprofessional is working with the students, that they are just additional supports need to be provided if the student is absent and just has to get caught up on some work and goes next door in a quiet space, and just having the opportunity to have those spaces, those flexible learning spaces that can be used for a variety of purposes is something that's really important. If we don't have those spaces, basically what we're looking at, the only option would be our library. If that's
What about
even
the computer lab?
With option 1, we would not have that.
No, but
available.
for option 2, what about using the computer lab as a flexible learning space?
Yep, so that would be another one that could be used.
Is
That would
Mr.
be,
Franklin's classroom?
no, the one across
One that's not really being used, I mean, it's full of a bunch of,
the PBIS room. So that would be another space as well. There would be some travel, once again, like the bathroom situation.
Right.
Traveling to, different locations away, so the library and that space would be available with option number 2. Option number 3 then would be Growing Dreams would no longer be in the building, and that with that structure, kindergarten would be in one of the classrooms that is currently occupied by Growing Dreams in that wing. First 2 sections of first grade would be in the other 2 sections, and then there would be 1 classroom that would be left open that would be available for that flexible learning space that I mentioned. Second grade would then be in the current kindergarten classroom for 1 section. The second section would be in the current first grade classroom. Third grade would be in the current second grade classroom, and then a room would be open for a flexible learning space for that wing as well. And then fourth grade would be in the I think I had a misspelling here, mistyped. Would be in the current fourth grade room. Fifth grade would be in their current location. Sixth grade would be next to the fifth grade room, and then there'd be a classroom that would be open in that area for a flexible learning space as well. So those would be the 3 options that we would have available for us. If with option 2, we would have some flexibility as far as if we chose to hold off on 6th grade.
yeah, that's my
Going
question.
down,
Mhm.
that would give us an opportunity to shuffle around. That could be an option where kindergarten would not be in the Growing Dreams area, and then make the choice to not have 6th grade down in that area, so.
If we didn't move 6th grade down, we still have to spend the 28,000 on lockers in option 2.
So we would have 1 classroom that we would need to outfit.
We still have to
with
outfit.
lockers still.
Okay.
Is that correct? Okay.
What was I gonna ask? If we don't move 6th grade down and say Growing Dreams just stays for 1 additional year, and we spend the $28,000 on the additional lockers, is that something that we won't need then the following year unless we split more grades? That would be, I mean, it's not like we're gonna have to incur that cost and within the next 2 to 5 years anyway, so it's, whatever it is, what it is, it would be likely that we wouldn't need to do that in the future.
What would necessitate the classroom lockers would be the not having enough lockers
Right.
for the actual physical lockers in the hallway.
Right, okay.
Shane, how far ahead does your crystal ball let you look at class sizes? Like, do we know how many 3-year-olds we have in the school district now, 4-year-olds, 2-year-olds?
Linda has a spreadsheet that
I think last time I talked to her, she thought
I mean,
it was
is this something that we do need to be concerned about, having enough classrooms in 2-3 years?
25?
Do you know Melinda
Well,
offhand?
Well, I'm just starting to work on that, but this is my problem right now, is my children are getting older, so I'm not in the smaller age brackets as much as I used to be, so I was pretty spot on then. And we're having significant influx in town, and I don't know who they are. I meet them like at the swimming pool, and I'm like, hey, who are you? And this looks like it's a kindergartner trying to scope them out in the summer. But no, next year's class probably is gonna be the smallest class that we've seen, I think, but you know, how many do I not know about?
Right.
Probably around 25 is my guess right now, but we haven't done our screening or, you know, asking the new families that have moved in for sure what our list is. So I don't feel like my count may be quite as accurate as it has been in the past, just because my kids are getting older and I'm not in the daycare facility and in that realm anymore as much. So
Probably
this
a lot
year,
better number
because
than
of how
24.
the kindergarten class this year has the youngest class we've seen. We've never seen this many young kids come into kindergarten as we did this year. So now that affects the upcoming class. We don't have as many. Where in years past, the ones that are the later birth dates have waited to go, and that did not happen last year, which
Right.
made for one of our biggest classes ever.
Right,
So we've never seen that,
right.
which
That may
will lead
also
to a
affect the
smaller
next one
class
because
probably
they were
next year
gone.
because of that.
Cannibalize the previous one.
And we normally recommend like summer birthdays for especially boys to probably get a boy back for the summer birthday.
Right.
They don't always get very nice. They want to get out of daycare.
Oh, don't. Right. All right, discussion.
I guess I like option 2. As far
Keep
as
it.
Right, it's kind of
what
in
we
the middle.
have to spend wise to make this happen and make everybody happy.
How do you feel about the 6th grade where they're at?
I prefer they go down, but not because I don't like 6th graders, I love 6th graders, but I feel like it's a huge, huge learning
Right, it's just too big to bridge
maturity
that
level
gap.
difference
Mhm.
between my high schoolers and the 6th graders. You know, even like teaching 6th graders, right, it's really at the end of that 6th grade year that I feel like they start to mature. You know, you start seeing like, I don't like school anymore, right? Like, you really start to see that at the end of that 6th grade year as they become 7th graders, so.
That extra year is important.
Yeah.
Is the kindergarten bathroom thing gonna be an issue? I mean,
No.
are we gonna allow running in the hallways for kindergartners if we do that route?
You mean as far as putting them down there?
Right.
But they're, I'll guarantee you, the kindergartners are gonna use that bathroom when they have to.
Okay.
Just
Just
for
for
standing in
legal-
the hallway guarding the bathroom or the daycare's guarding the bathroom, that's gonna get it.
Gotcha.
So am I correct in this statement that if 6th grade comes down in option 2, then that creates the issue with the restroom? So in option 2, if we want to keep a restroom for the kindergartners, the 6th graders have to stay in high school.
Say it again.
If we want to keep a restroom available for the kindergartners in option 2, 6th grade stays in high school?
No.
No, if 6th grade stays at the high school, and instead of 6th grade being next to the 5th grade, we would just wrap everybody around, every grade level around, and kindergarten would go back into their current kindergarten classroom instead of going into Growing Greens hallway.
Looks like option 2 is set up now, 6th grade is back down there.
Correct. If kindergarten goes in the hallway where Growing Greens is at,
Right.
that would necessitate them to go to the other bathroom because they can't use the bathroom.
That's what I was getting at. is
For a
it's
year,
one
we can't make that slide.
I know. I mean, how disruptive would that, I mean, saying that they can't use those bathrooms, how disruptive would that be to the I hate to.
Does it have to be kindergarten? Can it be 2nd grade or 3rd grade? Because they're older, they can walk down the hall?
And move the kindergarten closer to the bathroom.
Just leave kindergarten,
Right.
because some of the, like the 5th and 6th graders go down to the lunchroom anyway to use the bathrooms. So does it have to be kindergarten?
That's a good question. We're still at, I mean, and that's certainly,
Either way, you know, whatever grade level we choose to put there, it's still the same
right, it's
structure.
still, yeah, I mean, obviously the $28,000 for school lockers is a lot, unfortunately, a lot more than I would have anticipated, I think, any of us. Especially if it's something that we're not necessarily going to need down the road. I like the thought of just doing one instead of two.
I do too.
Um,
The thing with that, it's a lot of money, but if the growth continues,
Right,
and let's
exactly, we
say
might say
Growing Dreams
5,
just gets a
6
year and our numbers continue to grow and we have to split more classes
Right,
anyway,
that's
we're
true.
still gonna need those lockers.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I think it's money well spent.
Okay.
Would I wanna double it into 56? Probably.
Maybe not right off the,
Yeah,
maybe not
let's-
right off the bat, but, I mean, and I think if we have that open computer lab that's not being used anyway as well, I mean, to use it for flexible learning space if that works, that would be nice to utilize the space that's otherwise just being used for kind of storage or something right now, and maximize that space anyway. Any other thoughts? Sorry, Kyle.
Sorry, I missed most of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I would lean towards 2.
Mhm. I agree with Slade.
Will a year be enough? Are you confident that you can find accommodations in a year?
It
Yes,
would be,
we
what, a
will.
little bit over.
We will make sure to work, very hard to collaborate with another facility to make sure that preparations are in place to move within a year.
And who knows what'll happen in a year?
Exactly.
You never know.
Could be another pandemic.
Just take it as it comes.
Oh, seriously.
Let's not say that, yeah.
So if that's a consensus of the board, maybe over the next couple of months here, we can, the administrative team can evaluate what would be the best
Layout.
grade level to,
Yeah, I like that.
Tonight we'd be just voting on the structure.
Okay,
Yes.
you guys are both okay with 2 down there?
All right, if there's no further discussion, I will require a motion to approve option number 2 for the elementary structure for the 2022-2023 school year. Do I have a motion?
So,
Motion by Cody, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Doug, all in favor say aye.
I,
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda will require a motion to post for 2 additional certified elementary school teaching positions.
So this would be a product of the option 2.
so moved.
Wonderful. Motion by Kyle. Do I have a second?
So moved.
Second by Cody. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, the school board will hear the 2020-2021 school year audit report. Oh my goodness.
We had a successful audit in your packet. You have the letter that came from Shane Fish that shows that our audit was successful. The next page would be very small items that they had encouraged us to take a further look at and work towards improving on in the future. Very, very minimal. Shane Fish was very complimentary of Debbie and said that it was, I think, about 10 different times as we met with them, and said that this was a very successful audit. So nice work to Debbie for the work that she's done.
I forgot my gold stars, Debbie, I'll bring them next time.
Yeah. All right, any questions or further discussion regarding the audit report? If not, we'll move on to the next agenda item. The school board will hear a proposal for making up canceled school days.
So we've had 3 canceled school days so far. One was due to a water main being repaired. One was this actual snow day, and the other one was due to illness. So out of those, proposal that I have for the board would be that we make up 2 of those days. That's the third one, the water main, that's a rarity. I can't imagine we're gonna have that happening too often. Then the proposal that I put together for the calendar, this is the one that's in your packet that's marked as with proposed changes in the top heading, would be that we, as you can see in the bottom right corner, the red, so in April, we would take one of those days and convert the Flyer Friday of April 22nd into a regular school day. And then the next day of May 6th is another Flyer Friday that we would convert that to a regular school day. So that would be my proposal. If the board felt that those days should go at the end of the school year, then those would go back to Flyer Fridays, and we could add those 2 days on May 16th and May 17th if the board did not feel like we wanted to eliminate the Flyer Fridays, or convert the Flyer Fridays to regular school days.
I guess I'm comfortable using those Flyer Fridays, although nobody tell my son, because his birthday's on the sixth, so I think he's anticipating having that day off.
Isn't that music contest day?
It is.
It is.
We've always had school that day though, just not at the elementary.
Right,
Okay,
just, so
Right.
that's,
okay, that's good to know.
Maybe I'm remembering, don't we schedule in days for some snow days? Don't we have scheduled in days for that?
It's always been done at the end of the year.
Yeah,
We
just
just
tack
all,
it on at the end
for
of
some
the
reason
year.
I thought we had some. Okay. Sorry.
Hospice used to put on the calendar, snow day 1, 2, 3, but they were always at the end of the calendar.
I'll pretend that's what I was thinking.
Sure. Okay, so May sixth would be,
Then there'd be no school at the elementary on that day.
right, because of it, yeah, music, okay.
Could we, I hate to throw ideas out here in the live board meeting, but could keep the Flyer Friday for the elementary, do you think, Shane?
We've got.
Oh, you
we've
got
got
it.
some,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, ability for
Never
marijuana.
mind, thank you.
So then would would one of the days then need to be tacked onto the end, or
Please.
only for the one?
So they were, so really,
We just add the one and just dismiss the other one.
that was on the sixth, you said?
Mhm.
So if that was on the sixth, the elementary wasn't planning on having a Flyer Friday that day anyway.
No, that's
So
true.
there's no,
Yeah,
there's really
no
no change
point.
for the elementary.
Yep, okay.
So let's just add the 22nd. And we'll just wait for
Add
next
the
one and call it
22nd,
good.
change it from a Flyer Friday to a regular school day. And not opposed?
I think that's a really good option.
Okay.
So am I hearing that that would be one makeup day for the 3 total that we've had, or are we talking the 22nd and then adding one at the end of the school year?
I would say just the 22nd, call her good. That's my thought.
Yeah, that.
Okay. All right, then we will require a motion to accept the adjusted 2021-2022 school year calendar.
So moved.
Motion by Cody, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Kyle. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, the school board will discuss the proposed 2022-2023 school year calendar.
So the next one in there is the proposed draft schedule of the 2022-2023 school year. Everything's basically matching up with coinciding dates. The same coinciding date for start date, same coinciding dates for the winter break. 2 changes really that we're looking at implementing for next year would be that there's 8 Flyer Fridays total versus the 13 Flyer Fridays that we had this year. Some feedback that I've heard from staff and throughout the year is that the Flyer Fridays are great, but it felt like there was just too many of them this year. But too much of a good thing is still too much, and I think with 4, we've targeted having 4 each semester, and I think that would be, just how it breaks down the falls and flows through the schedule, I think that would be sufficient. And then conferences, we're looking at mixing things up with the conference dates. Right now, we had 3 interrupted days in a row this year with the early release on a Wednesday, early release on a Thursday, and then the conference comp day that was on the Friday for that additional time that teachers were putting in. So we're looking at the conferences being same coinciding dates of the first week in October, of the 6th and the 7th of October. And the 6th would be the 2 o'clock to 6 p.m. conferences in that evening, and then we're looking at trying something a little different next year and doing during the day conferences. So from 7:45 to 3:45 would be the conference time that would be happening throughout the school day. So give an opportunity for parents to come in during the day if there's something that would be something that would work for them, or schedule those times on the first evening.
Okay. So you'd still have the option for the evening. 'Cause
Okay,
I'm
yeah,
just
I was
thinking, there's
wondering
no,
why
I mean,
people can't make that. Okay.
So this is, that was probably the biggest change on the schedule. So I'm curious for feedback from the board on that. We certainly can keep it with the 2 o'clock dismissal from 2 to 6. Then we're looking at we have the 2 days that would be interrupted, and then
Mhm.
you would have to have that
right.
comp day for
Yeah.
that third day as well.
I guess I mean, and,
So the hours for the conferences, even the evening hours would be 2 PM to 6 PM.
right, which is still, I mean, if you,
Yeah.
like
mean,
when I
that's
worked
really
in Sioux
only
Falls,
an
there's
hour.
no way I could have gotten back by that period of time.
What is it this year, time-wise?
It's 2 to 6 as well.
2 to 6.
Something we could consider is extending on the 6th and, go a longer period of time to the 8th. It's been explained to me that used to be the conference setup, is that they used to always go till 8 o'clock. Within the last couple of years, it's been shortened to 6 o'clock. That is a long day, because we would have students
Right,
that
yeah.
day, so from staff going 7:45 until 8 o'clock at night, that's a long day, but then we could adjust and shorten up the Friday, and do like an early release on the Friday, if the board felt that we needed more time for the evening hours for parents.
The elementary does offer, you have the option of Zoom or in person, so
Right.
it does give you that option if you're,
Did a lot of people take advantage of the Zoom?
I think this time probably not as many as previously, but before we had quite a few. I know some of the teachers are here. What's the percent of your Zoom this upcoming one?
I have 4.
4 is all?
4.
4?
3.
3. 3, okay.
Time-wise, what do the teachers prefer? Does it make a does it, obviously you don't wanna give up your evenings, I understand that. Is it,
When do you have the lion's share of your parents show up?
Right away or way at the end? So
From
it's
2 to
they
2,
either want it from
2:30,
like
and
2 to
then
4,
5:30,
or they want it
6?
from, they want it like the 5 o'clock and later.
And if we do it during the day, it's 7:45 to 9 o'clock, and then, later.
Right.
People struggle to get here during the day.
Well, yeah, consumer.
Oh, the Zooming might help with that. They
Right.
can Zoom from the
Yeah.
office, that might make that better.
We have a high turnout at the elementary, no matter when you put them.
Right.
It's just,
okay.
I mean, we have 90% turnout, and we've had it in different formats, and we still have 90-some% turnout.
Right.
Ooh, make the parents happy or make the teachers mad?
I
Like a big us, man.
would, as per usual, I'd like to do both, keep everybody happy. Yeah, I mean, I guess, I don't have a preference, whatever would work best, for everyone else, I guess. If there is not an issue with having 2 interrupted days and it's more convenient and for parents to get to, I'm fine with that. Otherwise, if it's maybe easier to do it, during the day, but again, I just worry that, and, I mean, time will tell, but I just worry that, I know for me, it would be almost impossible for me to get there between 7:45 in the morning and 3:45 in the afternoon.
Could we cut a half hour off the morning conference and add a half hour to the evening one? So instead of 7:45 AM to 3:45 PM, have that go to 3:15? And then instead of 2 to 6, have that go from 2:30 to 6:30?
Well,
I mean, honestly, for somebody that gets off work at, like, let's say my wife, she works in Sioux Falls, she gets out at 5, she can be back by 6:15, but she
Right.
can't be back before 6.
my wife would tell you, you're eligible to go to those 2.
I do.
She does
The teachers have seen me, and I've talked to you. I'm
Okay,
saying she would like to also participate.
so, right, but so piggybacking off of that, like, if most of the people come in the morning, what if we instead of did a shorter day on Friday, or the dates are wrong, so instead of going 7:45 to like noon, and then adding an hour or hour and a half at the end with, the day before, would that be okay?
I think that would be good, and could I recommend even that we would start at 7 in the morning on Friday?
Now, everybody
I-
heard that Christie said,
Well,
come at 7.
that's
No,
when
I-
people can come.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so I agree, I
And
think
so
that's what
let's
we
go
should do.
later on Thursday night also.
Yeah, that would actually make more,
Right,
yeah.
so even if we started Thursday an hour later if you needed a little time to do whatever after, for a break, lunch or whatever. So if we maybe instead of, we went at 3 or 3:30 to 8 o'clock and then 7 to
Well, I don't know.
11.
I don't know if 8 o'clock, I mean,
That seems
I
like,
think you're
Or
gonna get,
7:30, whatever, yeah.
even that's a little late. I think even if you did till 6,
Leave it till 8:30.
you know what I mean, like,
3 to 7 and 7 to 11:30.
there you go.
Yeah.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just think that gives parents more opportunities.
So
But
is there
this
a
is
comp day
for the
after the
6 and the
parent-teacher
7.
conferences, or there's no comp day?
With this proposal, the comp day would be switched to the November 23rd, so there'd be 3 days for the Thanksgiving break.
So at a
So
later
it
time?
would be immediately after, but it would still be built in.
Is that okay?
No,
Is
But
that
then you're
no?
also
You'd rather have the
leaving
day off there?
You're leaving at 11:30 now on Friday.
right.
Yeah, you'd be on at 11:30 on Friday, does that make a difference?
So that staff could actually leave at that point, or we would have to stay in?
right.
Or we would have parents waiting for us until 1.
Well, I can't tell you how long the parents are gonna stay out there waiting for you,
I'm
but
just
yeah.
teasing, I'm just teasing.
Yeah,
Or we can scratch, I mean, I guess I was just thinking out loud, we can just go back to the original proposal too, that's.
I think what you're suggesting is fine. I'd rather be here when parents can get here.
Yeah.
If it means coming a little earlier and staying a little later on Thursday night, I
We
personally.
used to start at 7, and there were parents, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
there were
So that they could get here
5,
before.
you know,
I
like,
know.
we'd walk in and there'd be 5 or 6 parents like already here, because they have to get to work.
Right.
So, I mean, if that means that they're gonna come and be able to communicate with us, do it.
Okay.
What does the board think of this? So we'll take the 3 to 7 and 7 to 11:30. We'll have an opportunity between now and the next board meeting. This is a first reading, first viewing of this anyway, so
Yeah.
we can gather some more feedback
Yeah,
on
please gather.
conferences.
Here we go.
Yes, please do.
Principals can have a staff meeting and gather some feedback from teachers,
Right.
and we'll discuss more
I
at
wanna
the next
make
meeting.
sure it's.
So yeah, the two options would be leave it as is, or move to 3 to 7, 7 to 11:30.
Uh-huh. Yep,
Perfect.
I like it.
and
Great.
then probably also see where they want the comp day.
Yeah, that's part of that as well. What works best.
So, yeah, whatever works there.
Correct. Great, next item on the agenda will require a motion to adopt a cooperative agreement for wrestling.
So in your packet has the cooperative agreement for football that has been converted to wrestling, so that's where you see all the edits that were on there, so that should, we've had a couple of approvings of that and pass this on to our districts that are part of the wrestling co-op, and they've given their feedback, so it should be a pretty polished copy. Academy has already approved this, and then tonight Mary and us were looking, and then we're looking at bringing this forward for approval, so.
Great.
And it does have wrestling breakdown, and then also has cheerleading, wrestling for, cheerleading for wrestling as part of it as well. So should the board decide to move forward with the new sports cooperative agreement, we would need to have the board chair sign a copy of this tonight. Sure.
So I would make a motion to approve.
I just have really one quick question. Under academic eligibility rules, it just says will operate under the same academic eligibility guidelines and regulations. I know in the past, I think Freeman Academy, I think, has different academic eligibility guidelines and regulations than ours. I guess I'm just curious as to, so we're just all adopting kind of what ours is, the language for our academic eligibility? Or,
What's been used in the past for you or Chris? Speak to the academic eligibility.
Yeah, it's been up to each school,
school.
so I follow 5 different eligibility.
okay, so this will be a change then? Because it says it will operate under the same, all schools participating in the sports cooperative will operate under the same academic eligibility guidelines and regulations.
Is that the wording the same way in the football one too?
Yes.
Mhm.
So if Marion will be the stickler on it. If Marion
Okay.
agrees to it, then yeah, it'd be nice if it was all under one instead of
Right.
getting notifications from 4
Yeah.
different ADs.
No, I think that it makes good sense. I was just curious as to what those
I just know
actual
that-
regulations were.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. All right, I don't have any other questions. Any other discussion? All right, then I'll require a motion to adopt the cooperative agreement for wrestling. Motion, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Kyle, do I have a second?
Second.
A second by Slade, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda will require a motion to approve adjustments to the Title IX policy.
So Christy Sage, Katie and I went to a Title IX meeting and we've already approved the original draft copy of, or final copy of the Title IX agreement. We went to this conference and we received our training. There was a couple of recommendations, very small recommendations that they had. It was very encouraging for us that the main framework for our plan was very strong and had positive feedback from that. And but the couple of adjustments would be things like listing who's part of our Title IX, all members of our Title IX team, highlight that where the training had taken place. And then also one of the changes was on page 9, had some changes under what the appeal process should look like and the recommendations they had at the training. So other than that, it was virtually, what you're seeing here is virtually what we had originally. Just want to make sure that we have those updates and get board approval for that, so we can get that updated on our website.
Any further questions or comments? All right, then I will require a motion to approve those adjustments to the Title IX policy. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Slade, do I have a second?
Second.
Who was that?
Cody.
Cody? All right, second by Cody. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda will require a motion to enter executive session for the purpose of South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2, parentheses 1. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Cody.
Second.
Second by Kyle. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Go into executive session at 8:22 PM.